I'm always in the future. I created everything that happened last year, in my head. I didn't have any resources in this industry, this health industry. I didn't have any relationships with Nike. I didn't have any relationships with CNNs or Runner's World magazines. But I created this in my head, and I would write it all down in my notebook. And I was just in a powerful place of creation. And this year, it's on the cover of Runner's World magazine, the biggest running publication. Dude. Did the Ironman, biked across America, been on CNN 3-4 times, been on ABC, Fox, every media outlet, podcast, everything. But I just literally created it. I knew what my finish line looked like. And that's why I prescribe to everybody 2 things. Dream crazy and believe bigger. When you put those things together, something magical happens.
We're having tea. I'm here with Charlie Jabaley. Is that correct?
That's right, man. You said the last name very, very well.
AKA Charlie Rocket. AKA Dream Bigger. AKA my story ain't over yet, man. Where do we begin? I have so many questions.
Man,
I don't even know where to start.
I'm excited for this because we get to talk about some crazy things, which actually I wish there was a better name other than crazy, because it's actually not crazy, but it is crazy, brother. I'm so excited for this.
You know, I got to say, man, I listened to your podcast with Short Story Long, and I want to make sure everybody goes in and listens to your story, because we're going to go into... I feel like our audience is really going to appreciate the principles. I want to give people some real gems. We'll sprinkle through some of the story for sure. But you had me dying. And first of all, my wife listened to it before I did. I sent you a DM. And she was like, she's just cracking up. I'm like, what are you laughing about? This dude has the craziest stories. I was like, oh, what's it on? She's like, on drama, Short Story Long. I was like, someone brought the heat like me? I listened to it, hands down, my favorite one.
Oh, man. Thank you, man.
So go listen to it, people.
That means a lot coming from everybody's favorite one.
Not anymore.
I'm y'all's favorite one's favorite one.
No, man. So just to kind of review a bit my understanding, my listening to the story, what I've learned is you went from being... you know, a young kid with a big dream, but you also had a bigger weight.
Oh, yeah.
And that kind of led you to a place where you're like, what's my thing that I'm going to be good at, right? And tell us what happened at the age of 8 and how that kind of formulated.
I don't know what happens in the brain when you get to a certain age, but you start looking around at your peers.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden you start liking girls a little bit, and you're like, I need an identity. Yeah. I need something that has some meaning beside my name.
Wow.
These guys over here, they're good at football.
Yeah.
These guys over there, they can dance. Or those guys, they're funny.
Right.
What am I going to be good at? Because my passion was basketball, sports, essentially.
Right.
But, man, like, it didn't matter how much I played. I could never lose weight. I was a chubby kid. Play, shirts versus skins, get picked skins. I'm gonna drop out. Like, there's no chance in hell I'm gonna take my shirt off. I'm too embarrassed.
Yeah.
At the pool, never take my shirt off. So I kind of buried my dream and said, you know what, that entrepreneur thing is cool. Because I really looked up to my grandfather and my parents, and they sold vacuum cleaners. They sold vacuum cleaners since 1952.
Wow.
And I didn't know that was looked down upon. Door to door.
Yeah. And what did Gramps do?
He was door to door vacuum cleaner salesman. Yeah.
Wow.
He sold it, my mom and my dad. And so I thought it was cool. I didn't know in society's eyes, a door-to-door salesman was a trash job.
Right. No matter what, you look up to your parents.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's like making money. I'm like, I want to make money too.
You have any siblings growing up?
A sister.
Yep.
Yeah, older sister.
Okay.
So, man, I wanted to make money. I said, I'm going to be CEO Charlie. I put my suit on.
That's at 8.
8.
Where'd you get a suit?
thrift store.
Go to Gap Kids?
Nah, thrift store. My parents, man, growing up, my parents wanted to buy real estate.
Okay.
And they never made more than $40,000 a year combined.
An ATL. Yeah.
And they would save every single penny to be able to buy rental properties.
Wow.
So in the wintertime, my dad wouldn't even like turn the heat on. We'd have the fireplace, and he would take these ducks, these like big ducks, and run them through the living room and put fans in them
Wow.
and try to blow heat into the rest of the house.
Wow.
And he would have me stoking the fire every like 30 minutes. And it would be so cold in our house, built in 1918 or whatever. Air basically just coming through the windows. Like, I don't even know why there's windows. It's so cold.
Damn.
It gets cold in Atlanta for people who don't know.
Right.
Like, it'll get down into the single digits. And I would like change my clothes underneath the 8 quilts, on my bed, because it would be too cold to change in my room. Or like, I got smart actually and went in the bathroom and turned on the hot water and learned to like change my clothes in the shower.
Creating your own steam effect.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So my parents would actually save up money, and they accumulated over 7 houses.
Wow.
And I thought it was so cool. Like, they're watching money grow.
Yeah.
And I actually just told this story on my podcast this morning, how when did my addiction to watching money grow come from?
Yeah.
And it wasn't the addiction to money, because a lot of people look at money as, oh, it's a tool to be spent.
Sure.
I wanted to be addicted to watching it grow, and it all started in kindergarten. My kindergarten school had this federal union savings account that was set up for us, that every Wednesday, if we brought money to school, they would give us they would write it in the ledger and give us a sticker to put on our crown box.
Dude, that's amazing. I need to set that up for my kids.
And it was super fun, because to me, it was like, yeah, I want a sticker.
Right.
So I want the big round sticker goes on the crown box. So I said, I'm going to fill up my crown box. And I did.
Now, this is something that your school set up?
Yeah.
Wow, man.
Yeah, just regular public school in Atlanta, Georgia.
To encourage kids to save. That's incredible.
So Wednesdays we'd bring our ledger, bring our money, and I didn't want to miss a Wednesday. So I would be like doing anything I could, sweeping, raking leaves, whatever I could to bring money to school.
You didn't make any interest, but they gave you stickers.
Exactly.
That's incredible.
So I filled up one crayon box with stickers on the outside. Then I filled up the inside.
Yeah.
And then it was so full, I was like, give me a second crown box to fill up the stickers on the outside. And I put a rubber band around the two, and I would walk around with 2 crown boxes just so I could show everybody.
Killing it.
And then as I got a little bit older, I walk into my grandfather's house. And my grandfather, he was the man. Like Charlie Jabaley Jr. I'm Charlie Jabaley the third. I was named after him. Lebanese man, had the wavy hair, suited and booted.
That's amazing.
He was the man. And my dad and him were arguing in the kitchen of his house. And I said, what are y'all arguing about? And they were using terms I didn't know. And I walked over to the TV in the corner, and there was this channel. My grandfather always had it on, with little blue and white lines going across the bottom. And in the right-hand corner of the TV, it said, Dow up 100. And I don't know what that means, but Jesus Christ, I wanted to be a part of it.
Wow.
And I asked my dad and grandfather, I was like, what is this?
What are you guys talking about?
And they're debating stocks, almost like Stephen A. Smith and Skip Bayless would be talking about sports, and they're going back and forth. And I said, I want in on this action.
How old are you at this point?
About 8.
Sure.
I've got a few $100s in my bank account, and I said, I want to do this. Let's have a competition. I'm just like, being a kid. Like, I bet I could pick stocks better than you guys. So they were afraid for me. Okay. Because I wanted to pick a stock that was in the dumps.
You wanted to.
The stock I wanted to invest in the competition.
And do you remember how you came about thinking, you know what, that's the one?
Oh, yeah, of course.
Really? How did you come across that?
Oh, it's still going on in my life today. So my father, he picked a stock called Sara Lee.
Okay.
They own Hanes. It was like a good fundamental company. And they also owned Electrolux, the vacuum cleaner company, at one time. So he was very familiar with the company. My grandfather, he picked like Southern Company. It was like a power company. Had like Georgia Power and utility. It had a good dividend. So they're like making intellectual decisions.
Sure.
And me, I just wanted one stock. Nike.
Wow.
Michael Jordan was the only person I cared about in the whole world.
That was it.
And the stock had been going down for years. It was doing terrible.
Wow. Because, I mean, you're 30, right?
Mm-hmm.
So this is like early.
96,
Okay.
90, 97.
Yeah.
So if you go pull up the stock price from those time periods, you'll see. And they were scared for me.
Yeah.
They were like, oh, man, they don't want their son or grandson to be losing money. And here he is picking a stock. And I'm like, no, like Nike's dope. Y'all just got to trust me on this one. Forget what the stock price says. And I bought that stock. And it was going up.
And when you put the money in that you had been saving at school?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
And at this time, I could like start cutting grass. I was like getting a little bit of
some
money.
paper.
So stock went up, stock split. Price gets cut in half, but I got double the shares. Then it went up more. Then Michael Jordan won another championship, and then they released the Presto. Now it's flying. And safe to say, I won that competition. And I was putting out that energy my entire life on how much I love Nike.
Right.
And when we talked about it still going on in my life today,
Wow.
is because when I walked away from my business, just to catch all the audio listeners up, I used to be in the music business.
Yeah.
I managed an artist named 2 Chainz for 10 years of my life.
Well, not only like managed, I felt like manage was almost too small for what I felt like you did, because, you know, from the first time you guys met to the shift of, you know, you might want to consider a name change, dude. I mean, there was a lot more than manage. Yeah.
Thank you for saying that, man. Nobody's actually ever said that to me before. But, you know, how I looked at management was being of servitude.
Mm-hmm.
And I had gotten fired before 2 Chainz. I had gotten fired from managing a girl group.
Yep.
And I got him a record. I'm 18
You
years old.
didn't get him water.
No, I didn't. No.
Again, guys gotta go back and listen to these stories. For time's sake, we're not gonna be able to go through all of them. But you helped put them on.
I did.
In the middle of a show, you didn't bring him water. You're out of here.
So what happened was, I got fired from the girl group because I was kind of caught up. It wasn't actually the water why I got fired. It was a multitude of reasons. So they ended up leaving me for a big industry manager named Falana Williams.
Yeah.
She managed Sierra. And, you know, the girl group, they were like, well, like, you know, you're just 18 years old.
Yeah.
We need a big industry manager because we have a record deal. I'm like, I'm the one who got you the record deal. But at the end of the day, I can be honest with myself. I was caught up in the wrong things. Here I am. And it really started about a year before when I was on tour with Soulja Boy. He gave me this diamond necklace, and I'm like a celebrity cameraman.
It changes
but
the game. You got the necklace.
I got and I'm in music videos, and I'm caught up. And there was this girl that he was talking to that then I wanted to like, I'm just like breaking all the rules, but I'm caught up in the hype.
Because how old were you when you started managing Soulja Boy?
I actually didn't manage Soulja Boy. I was just his cameraman.
Okay.
But that was 18.
18.
So, man, I'm just caught up in the hype. So I get fired from that, and I went back to my mom's basement, and I was like, Ma, like, I'm going to be a manager.
Right.
She said, what do you know about managing artists? I said, I'm going to figure it out, and I'm going to be the best ever.
Well, you're still rocking with that CEO Charlie story, right? That was still that.
But I got away. I got away from the essence. I was CEO Charlie in that I'm doing business, but I got away from the essence and the mindset, because when I managed the girl group, I was caught up in the hype, trying to be cool again. They fired me, and I had to go back to my mom's basement once again. Ma got fired.
Yeah.
And I realized that the essence of CEO Charlie has to come back.
Right.
Being cool and being fired is not cool at all.
So 8 years old, when you initially invented that essence of CEO, what was the essence of CEO Charlie?
The suit, the briefcase, watching the money grow, not worrying about being cool. I would go to school in my suit every day.
That's crazy.
I had a briefcase instead of a backpack because I literally wanted to attract
we need
business
some of
into
these
my life.
photos. You gotta make sure to put some of these photos out.
Want me to show you some? I got some good 8-year-old photos.
I gotta see some.
I'm on the phone.
So here's my question, right? So I feel like from 4 to 7, right around there, from what I've learned, is from 4 years old to 7, we experience something.
Okay.
That usually occurs, and we label ourselves something that is usually negative, right? For me, I had a situation where, my dad told me to not tell my mom that we were going to his lady friend's house. I ended up telling moms because she asked me. I couldn't lie to her. And the next day, I just remember my dad and my mom yelling over the phone, and my mom was crying, and she hands me the phone. We're out here. We got helicopters in the spot.
Helicopters are coming. They're looking for me.
They're here to pick you up for the next race. My mom was crying. She hands me the phone, and my dad's like, "Look at what you did." I'm 5. He's like, "You're a liar. You're a fink." And in that moment, I tell myself, I'm worthless. I didn't know I told myself that, right? And I spent my whole life trying to cover up this feeling that I'm worthless, from what I did with skateboarding to making money. And the interesting thing is, I would build myself up, but then it would all crash like quicksand, because at the core of me, there was still that underlying feeling. So I'm curious for you, was there a negative thing, a negative moment that you experienced before CEO Charlie was born that you could think of, that was the moment that I said no? Do you remember one?
There wasn't, bro. I'll be honest with you, man. I've always been a delusional optimist. Before I was CEO Charlie, I told myself I was going to be a great basketball player.
Wow.
And when I realized that I couldn't, I pivoted without beating myself up.
Wow.
I do struggle to this day. I've never looked in the mirror and loved my body.
Yeah.
I'm still about 40 pounds overweight, even though I've lost weight.
Yep.
I still don't know what it's like to love my image of my body. I like the way I look when I'm wearing a jacket or a hoodie, as you see, I'm wearing a hoodie right now, just because I don't like the shape of my body. Man. But I'm going to get there. But when I was young, I didn't beat myself up. I pivoted.
Right.
And I've always been this delusional optimist. And there was one day when I was talking to somebody about how I completed my Ironman. And he walked up to me and he said, "You're very quantum." I said, What does that mean? He said, "Just the way you talk, I can tell you know how to attract things." And I said, "Man,
this was after the Ironman."
This is after the Ironman.
Okay.
And I felt at home because I could talk to somebody about all the crazy things I've been able to attract in my life and not feel like a weirdo. Because where I'm from Atlanta. We're not hocus pocus. We're not law of attraction.
Right.
We're not frequency.
Yeah.
We're grind and
hustle.
Hip hop.
Yeah.
So I felt like I could talk to somebody for the first time, and he explained to me all the crazy things, because around this time of my life, I walked away from hip hop. I'd lost the weight, and I said, I want to be a Nike athlete. I'm just writing it in my notebook. I have this notebook that I keep every morning, and it's called the Quantum Possibilities Notebook, because after this man explained it to me, he said he explained how quantum physics works and how it explains the law of attraction and how I've been doing it my whole life. And I made this fan-made Nike commercial.
Right.
Where I needed to get the attention of Nike, but I didn't know anybody at Nike. 2 Chainz couldn't get a Nike deal. He wasn't an athlete.
Yeah.
So I had no relationships. And I had just moved to California, and I would write down in my notebook every single day, I will be a Nike athlete. Nike will love working with me. And I said, I need a cameraman. It was my biggest problem with Los Angeles, is finding somebody I could afford, who knew how to do, like everybody. I would call my friends who were television producers, and I'll say, okay, I need them to film, edit, make original music, score. I was asking for everything. They said, Charlie, what you're looking for would cost $30,000 a month. That doesn't exist.
It's not going down.
And I said, I hate when people tell me that this isn't possible. And I just released a podcast episode this morning that explains this entire story. But the next morning, I had a meeting with my television producer friend. He pissed me off. And then the next morning, I wrote down in my notebook, and I don't know why I wrote in an incomplete sentence, but I did. I said, Today, I searched and found my videographer and editor. It will be easy. That's what I wrote. And this guy walks right through my front door.
Wow.
Literally, I can't make this up. My roommate at the time has never hung out with a videographer in his life. And randomly, his friend called him, said, we need to use Charlie's car for something.
Yeah.
So he brought him over. And there's a guy walks right through my front door. I said, you do videos? He said, yeah, I do a little bit. I said, well, like, what do you do? He said, well, I just freelance. I don't like all the way like know how to pay the bills by doing this. And I said, can I see some of your work? Pull up his website. He had this like little short film on there. And I said, you did this? He said, yeah. I said, you edited it? He said, yeah. I said, who did the music? He said, well, I used to be a rock band, drummer, so I know how to make music.
Yeah.
And I do original scoring and stuff. And I said, who color graded it? Because this is great color grade. He said, me? I just like watch tutorials. Everything I asked for in my notebook, I was like, this I need. And it just blows my mind.
Damn.
He walked through my front door.
That's amazing.
And the very first film we made was a fan-made Nike commercial that 3 days later got 1 million views. And Nike called me and said, we don't know who you are, but you have our entire campus in a frenzy. And that's the commercial that led Nike to shift the company in the new direction,
Right.
to do the bold thing with Colin Kaepernick, where they platform athletes that have big, crazy dreams.
Right.
Where they titled the Colin Kaepernick commercial Dream Crazy. And they titled that after my fan-made Nike commercial Dream Crazy.
Not only that, though, when you watch both of them, the way the voiceover is, it's because that's Colin's voice.
That is.
But I feel like the cadence of that was very, very similar to that fan-made video.
Thank you, man.
So let's kind of like, I want to give our audience here kind of like an overview, right?
Okay.
And just kind of like take a look at it in a sense of time.
Okay.
And then I want to go into some principles.
Ah.
All right. So you spend from what age to what age in the music industry?
18. Well, I started in high school. I made this website. My friends started rapping.
Yeah.
And I put a little studio in my bedroom. I asked my mom, can I put a studio in my bedroom? And after school, we'd have 20 guys in the studio writing songs. And then I was like, Mom, I want a digital camera for Christmas. I got an idea because I wanted to start making like original videos for all my friends who rapped. So I got a digital camera, boom, started. And then I was like, I need a website. I could be a media outlet.
It's interesting to think, though. So you always took the business perspective. You had a studio in your room in high school, but you saw it more as like a platform to help record your friends versus, or were you writing as well and also recording, right? So
I didn't write.
It was always coming from a place of like that business, that CEO Charlie, right? And so you got the studio in the crib, you get a camera, you're creating websites.
Yeah.
You're doing like coding on websites in MySpace days. Like, how do you figure all that out?
Just obsession. I mean, if your name is CEO Charlie, I mean, you
better step it up.
You got to step it up. That's why I believe creating that identity
Right.
is so important, because when you tell everybody around you what you are, then you've got to show up and figure it out.
Wow.
Because you can't let them down. Like, being lazy is disrespectful to the people who believe in you.
Wow. Yeah. Can't be a poser.
No.
CEO Charlie, it's what you do.
Yeah, man.
You make websites. You're in high school. I mean, you had how many different websites in that time?
Whew. I mean, it was a journey. I mean, we got a saw going on in the background right now. We might have to take a sip of tea. For that saw in.
For the listeners, we are here at our legendary masterpiece, 456 Mendoza. This is the dopest courtyard.
For sale, by the way.
That's correct. Maybe not for long, because I brought a contract for you, Charlie. But I figured, you know what? Let's hang out right here in this spiritual Zen courtyard. We got the fire pit. We're having tea. And in the last 25, 30 minutes, we've had helicopters, airplanes, lawnmower, a saw. The universe is trying to step to our message. What is going on? They're not ready. Yeah, we are back. No more helicopters, chainsaws, crazy horse-powered Mustangs. We are now in the Japanese tea room. Charlie Rocket.
I drank all the tea. I'm
Yeah, man,
sorry.
that was some good tea. So, bro, let's give people like a little, like I was saying, a little bit of that timeline, right? You were in music industry from really high school till
28. Till 28 is when I started looking at transitioning. 29 is when I retired.
Wow.
And October 4th, 2007, which is an interesting date. Now, remember when I got...
October 4th, 2000.
October 4th, 2017.
Wow.
Very interesting date. Now, if we rewind 10 years to the day, October 4th, 2007, what happened on that day? It's the last day of Soulja Boy's tour.
Okay.
Ended in Atlanta the day I got fired.
Damn.
That's the day I decided I'm going to be a manager and start my management journey. October 4th, 2017. Last day of tour for 2 Chainz, ending in Atlanta, is the day I closed the book.
So you did management for 10 years.
To the day.
Right? Management, but also discovery. I mean, the Travis Porter, you know, there was a name shift. There was a whole brand thing you got to recognize there.
Yeah.
And then 2 Chainz, there was a name shift. There was a whole rebranding, right? Where do you think that skill set came from?
You know, in marketing, you know, when you practice, like when you're really young, like selling vacuum cleaners or starting businesses, just like anything else, practice is just makes you a little bit better.
Yeah.
I can't say I'm particularly gifted, but I put a lot of reps up. I was in the gym, basically practicing from a young age. So when I met Travis Porter, their name was Dim Hard Hitters. And I was like, oh, Lord, we need something different than this. And they changed their name. They came up with their name, and I approved of it. It was a left field name, Travis Porter. Like, it sounds like one person.
Right.
None of their names are Travis. I was like, this is going to be perfect.
Did you think that? Or did you think like...
Oh, I thought it was genius.
That's hilarious, man.
I thought it was genius because it would get people talking. It'll
Right.
have people confused. It gives them something to talk
Yeah.
about. It was free marketing. And then with 2 Chainz, I mean, his name was Titty Boy. So it was a little apparent that we needed to change the name.
Was it difficult? How do you start a conversation with somebody who's already influential? You know, you're a rapper and you're this kid. How old were you when you first met 2 Chainz?
About 20, 21.
Right? And how do you even suggest that? How do you even start that conversation?
You know,
Because he's the man, right? You're 20. You know.
The best way to get an artist to do something is to have them think it's their idea.
Okay.
So I learned psychology very early on with managing artists. And I imagine, you know, when I raise kids and they get to teenage years, I'm going to be great at it.
Yeah.
Because I feel like the teenage years is a lot like rapper years.
Yeah.
And
They know. They're geniuses.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So 2 Chainz had this ad lib that he would say in his song. For some reason, I don't know why, but I found something. Me and my business partners, boom, 2 Chainz, like he would say that in the background of songs, and we suggested that to him, so it felt like it was his idea. And we did a transition. The first mixtape we put out on 2 Chainz that I would like stand outside and pass out every single night. It was called Trapavelli 2. And that was Titty Boy.
Okay.
And then the second mixtape we put out was Codeine Cowboy. And that was Titty Boy, a.k.a. 2 Chainz.
Sprinkle it in.
And then the third mixtape, which is the one that really exploded, was True Religion, 2 Chainz, a.k.a. Titty Boy.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so we transitioned into it, and he would say it in every song, 2 Chainz, and it just became it became his new name. It was very marketable, but it's very true to to Atlanta, the resurgence, the reinvention is true to me as well. Reinvention, going from CEO Charlie to Charlie Rocket, 2 Chainz from Tittywood, Travis Porter from Them Hard Hitters, even a Roscoe Dash, you know, who's an artist, had big records. He was discovered in my mom's basement, the Spit Joke Game studio, my mom's basement, and his name was ATL, and we changed his name to Roscoe Dash.
Okay.
So a lot of rebranding, reinvention going on in my life.
That's amazing, dude. So, tell us about the shift. You know, actually, before we go into the shift, you got some stories, dude. I was just cracking up listening to some of the stories from the Diddy penthouse story. And, you know, Cassie opens the door and she's just dragging this 4-foot bottle of Moet. Tell us about, like, in that era of before Charlie Rocket was manifested, any other crazy stories in the 2 Chainz era?
I mean, all right. We told so many of them in drums. Man, I would have to dive into a thought process to pull out a story from the memory bank.
Yeah.
Man, there was some crazy stuff actually. That I never talk about on podcast, and that was the violence that was experienced in hip hop, and you know, anybody, a lot of times when people listen to my podcast, they think I'm of color, but if you're watching, you'll see I'm as white can get, and you know, I was just an entrepreneur, but it led me into hip hop, and the things we dealt with were incredible. It was just like the Biggie and Tupac life. I mean, hip hop is real.
Yeah. And
I opened the biggest studio in Atlanta. I used to actually go in this studio when I was young. It was Grand Hustle, T.I.'s studio. And before that, it was Big Meech's studio, BMF, the most notorious gangster in the history of Atlanta, drug dealing, big operation.
And that's just a common thing of studios in, you know, there's going to be certain things going on, especially in ATL.
So everybody who had this studio ended up either going to jail or like having to leave. Right. You know, T.I. got locked up for a few years, so he had to evict the studio. And then here I come. Little Charlie said, I want the studio. And it became mine.
The same spot. Man, I didn't know that.
Yeah. And I renovated it, put like $500,000 in it. And I created the ultimate man cave. The whole studio was one big man cave. We had full court basketball court, skyloft, barbershop, private chef's kitchen, full C-suite, corporate suite. We had 5 studio rooms. I mean, this was amazing.
Wow.
And there was something that actually happened in the studio years before. 2 Chainz used to be Lil Wayne's drug dealer. He would sell him weed. And 2 Chainz, before he was a famous rapper, I mean, he was everybody's weed man.
Yeah.
And Lil Wayne is recording in this studio when it was T.I.'s. And 2 Chainz brought him a pair of shoes. You know, your drug dealer bringing you a gift.
Some kicks.
And expensive kicks, too.
Yeah. And
2 Chainz is a cool drug dealer to have. I mean, 6'6". I mean, that's the type of you know, drug dealer you want. And then he brings you gifts. And he told Lil Wayne he wanted to have him hop on a song, and Lil Wayne gladly did it for him.
Wow.
That song became #1 in the country. If I don't do nothing, I'm a ball.
Damn.
Go and get your money, little duffel bag boy.
Wow.
Great song. And that was actually recorded in our studio that became ours later on. And but in hip hop, I mean, it all kind of started. I remember I'm upstairs. It was this time of year. I'm upstairs in my office. It was formerly Big Meech's office. Notorious gangster. It was the main big office in the building. And I'm sitting upstairs. It's about 10 o'clock at night. And we're selling Christmas sweaters. I came up with this idea called Dabbing Santa. And it was just a design I thought of for merch. Thought of it 8 in the morning, had it designed, released it at 1 in the afternoon. Didn't even have a physical product. It ended up selling 30,000 that first day. Then the next day sold 50,000. Then the next day sold 150,000. And we're running like $100,000 days on this online merch. And I mean, it's the craziest time in my life. I mean, everybody's walking around saying, Charlie, man, you're a genius. You're a genius. Like, it was culturally pivoting. I'd turn on the Golden State Warriors game. I'd see 8 of them in the crowd. I'd walk into the mall. I'd see 20 different people wearing them. I mean, Dabbing Santa was everywhere. Cam Newton.
Dude, I'm pretty sure I bought 3 of those sweaters.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it.
What?
So on one hand, everybody's like, Charlie, you're a genius. You came up with this idea and you just, boom, you sold 2 million in 30 days. And then on the other hand, Charlie, you're a scammer. Because you go into 2 Chainz' comments. Where's my sweater? Where's my sweater? Where's my order? Why isn't the tracking number there's when 40,000 people are buying something at one time, you can then have 40,000 people mad at you at one time.
So you had 2 Chainz kind of pushing the Dabbing Santa sweater.
Yeah, so I thought of the idea and I knew not to show it to him.
Right.
Because he would have said it's cheesy. So I'm like, I knew it was a hit. So I said, I'm just going to upload it to his Instagram and not tell him.
What?
And I logged into his Instagram, uploaded the picture.
Who was weighing the picture?
What'd you
Who
say?
was weighing the sweater?
It was just a Photoshopped picture of a sweater. Like, it wasn't even a real sweater yet.
Was he pissed?
Well, I'm known to get cussed out because I experiment a lot. And
he uploaded Dabbing Santa to 2 Chainz'
because it didn't say 2 Chainz on it. It wasn't merch. It was just some random idea. And I'm just waiting for him to call and cuss me out. And like 30 minutes pass and I see my phone ring. And I'm like, oh Lord, I'm about to get cussed out. And it's 2 Chainz calling. So I pick up my phone and I'm like, hello? He says, what's this on my Instagram? I said, ugly Christmas sweater. He said, and I'm just like bracing for impact because of the cheesiness of this idea was like beyond any cheese that I've ever done. And he hates cheese. We would always say, man, that's goat cheese.
He's 2 Chainz.
and he said, 3 of my friends just called me wanting one. And all his friends are gangsters. All of them. Like every friend he has is a gangster from the south side of Atlanta. He said, 3 of my friends just called me wanting one. And I said, bro, we just did like 10,000 in sales in the first 30 minutes. He said, okay, just let me know how it's doing. And I then knew I was in the clear because I was able to, I was hitting refresh.
Delete it. Is it still there? You know if it's still there?
What?
On his Insta?
Oh, of course.
Oh,
it's just
man, I'm gonna
scroll all the way back.
That's amazing.
And what's crazy is, like I'm retired now, but Dabbing Santa is still continuing on. Just a couple of days ago, Sprite and Dabbing Santa just did a collaboration for a Sprite can. I mean, it's culturally pivoting, but at this time, I was looked at as this genius and a scammer because I'm trying to get the factory to get the orders out.
Yeah.
They're just overloaded. And I'm flying up to Secaucus, New Jersey. I'm basically living in the factory. We're walking so much across this 100,000 square foot that I probably walk 2 marathons a day. And we're just like yelling and trying to get them out and things are going wrong and machines are breaking. And I'm just got all this pressure on me. 2 Chainz calling me, cussing me out. Why is everybody mad at me? Why is it? Because they're mad at him. 2 Chainz, why? So I'm like, ultimately, they're mad at me. And it's like I created this amazing thing. And I'm upstairs one day in my office. And boom, and my phone rings. And it's my business partner, Al. And he says, what's going on at the studio? I said, I don't know. I'm selling Christmas sweaters right now. Like, I don't know what's going on at the studio. I'm just hitting refresh, watching the sales go up. That's what I'm doing. He said, go outside. Like, there's somebody fighting. And I walk out of my door, and I see all these guys in our basketball court with their, shirts off, pants pulled up. And I'm like, oh, Lord. And they look up at me. I'm on the second floor, got the staircase going down at the studio. They look up at me, and they kind of knew it was over once I came outside.
Yeah.
CEO Charlie is breaking it up. So Al's like, man, walk down there, man. Make sure they leave. And I'm like, I'm just a little, 5'8", chubby white guy. Like, well, I don't want to
Yeah.
walk down there, but I did it anyways. And they left. And the altercation, as they were leaving, the altercation actually continued because one of the other guys was like cussing at them and said, after a girl, like
Right.
whatever. And words were being exchanged as they were leaving. And they went to their car, got a gun, and I'm standing out there and pow, 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 pow. Bullets are flying past us. And I froze like a deer in the headlights. I've never been shot at. And somebody like said, Charlie, run. And like I just started running, and all the cars in the parking lot had like bullets in them, and then the news came, and I didn't want to be one of those CEOs who was like putting their head down, like covering and saying no comment, to the
Right.
news reporters. So I went and talked to him, and I said, we're going to increase security here at the studio, and I'm having to go before all the neighborhood association meetings, and they're like crucifying me, and I'm on the news, and my aunts and uncles are calling me saying, Charlie, I knew that hip hop thing wasn't no good. Are you okay? Da, 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 da. And I've been in it like 9 years. Like I had never had a problem, but here we are, we're on the news, and we're being crucified.
Yeah.
Street execs is terror in the city. Whatever. Calms down. Fast forward, and there was one morning I was really sick, and I don't know why. Something made me sick that day. Not like an illness, not like a flu, not a stomach thing. I couldn't move.
Yeah.
And this is a few months after the first shooting. I just couldn't move. And I called my best friend Tasia, and I said, Tasia, just come pick me up. Just come pick me up, please. Come pick me up. I just need to get out of this house. And I'm at her house, and my phone just starts ringing off the hook. And I'm like, what's going on? Like, it just keeps on ringing, and text message. And somebody texts me, is Bankroll okay? Bankroll is one of my artists. He's one of my new upcoming superstars. Yeah. Like, he's like next to blow in the city. And you know how Atlanta produces the biggest artists. If you blow in Atlanta, you're national. Bankroll is right there. He was the first one to reunite the Hot Boys. Lil Wayne, Juvenile, BG Turk. The first one to reunite the Hot Boys on a song ever.
Wow.
He's blowing up. And I'm getting this text message, is Bankroll okay? And I'm like, what's going on? And then everybody's texting, what's wrong with Bankroll? Is he okay? Boom, boom, boom. And then there was a shooting at Street Execs.
At the studio.
And I'm like, oh my God. And I tell Tasia, I said, drive me to the studio. And, my phone just won't stop ringing. Everybody making sure I'm okay, calling what's going on. And I pull up to the studio. We turn the corner, and there's 50 cop cars. Yellow tape, 30 or 40 people detained outside, and Bankroll Fresh had been shot. And I remember I was standing outside. I had to be on the other side of the fence because they wouldn't let me near all my business partners who were detained. They wouldn't let anybody leave because they had to ask questions. And we're standing out there. It's really cold. It's in March. And then I remember Ghetto, a friend of ours named Ghetto. He was like best friends with Bankroll. His phone rang, and we all look at him. And he's silent. And he just takes the phone, and he screams and throws it at the ground, and everybody just dropped to their knees. Knew. Bankroll had died at the hospital. He had been shot. One bullet hit him. And that was a night that, everything changed in our lives. Like, Bankroll was an amazing, amazing human being, never caused any problems. But that night he lost his life, and, that led to, the city council trying to pass laws to shut down, 75% of the studios in Atlanta because of, incidents that happened at our studio. And, I didn't know what was going to happen. I didn't know if our business was over.
Yeah.
But we hunkered down and we stuck together. We didn't let it tear us apart. It was tough. But, that that lifestyle was real. And, you know, it's what we signed up for, though. We knew what hip hop had the capabilities of for positive. I mean, we shift culture, we change the way people talk, but there are, you know, people from these kids' neighborhoods, you know, who get jealous or different things that happen, and there are altercations. You know, 2 Chainz had been shot at outside this place in downtown San Francisco.
Yeah.
And another one of my artists has been shot at, you know, hundreds of times. Young Dolph, another artist I discovered out of Memphis. He's a big artist now. But that lifestyle was definitely what you see in the movies.
And you were in that, right? So you were in that role for 10 years, right? 07 to 2017. Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. Wow. That's wild. And so how much longer after that did you have that morning? And tell us about the morning where, you know, you reach for a pair of socks and that shift occurs. How much after that did that occur? Because you're in LA at that point, right?
Bankroll lost his life in March of 2015. And it was 16. It was November and December of 2016. I told 2 Chainz, I said, man, you're bigger than Atlanta now. You need to get a spot out in California.
Yeah.
It's time to grow. And I convinced him, you know, to buy a house. He found a beautiful house that had a studio in it, a legendary studio. Everybody from John Lennon, everybody had recorded in this. Ozzy Osbourne, everybody, Frank Sinatra had recorded in this studio that's in this house.
Yeah.
It's an entire floor of the house built out as a studio. And he bought that house. And I said, you know what, let me break it in for you. You know, because I was looking for an answer. I didn't know, my whole life was being stirred up. And I wanted to get out to California.
Did you have to close the Street Exec studio in order to make it happen?
Street Exec Studios is still thriving to this day.
Wow.
Like, we survived everything, all the forces that tried to shut us down, because at the end of the day, the city couldn't do anything to us because we didn't do anything wrong. There's shootings outside of Waffle Houses.
All the time.
That doesn't mean you could show. So we, as a business, and we would even invite the city in and the police in and say, look, we run a legitimate business here.
Right.
We took a lot of pride in our business. So there I am breaking in 2 Chainz' house. Breaking into his house. I didn't break into it, but I was breaking it in.
Yeah.
And I'm in his guest bedroom, and one morning I passed out, and I knew deep down in my heart that it was my brain tumor that I had since I was in high school has come back to haunt me.
Wow.
It had reactivated, and I went vegan immediately. Something told me that it was the food I was consuming is what was making me sick, because when I thought back to high school, all the times I would get my migraine headaches before I knew I had a brain tumor, it would always be right after lunch. And school food is very unhealthy. And here I am, very unhealthy again, and this brain tumor is coming back. And I realized that everything in my life needed to change.
Wow.
And that's when I said, you know what? When I was 8, I came up with a character who's going to make me a successful businessman. And his name is going to be CEO Charlie. I need to do that again. But this time I want to be an athlete. I want to change my life. You know, business is killing me. Food is about to put me into the dirt. And the only thing that will save my life is if I chase my original dream of becoming an athlete. So I called myself Charlie Rocket. I wear a headband, sunglasses.
Yeah.
And I said, I'm going to be an athlete. And I did it.
Did you change your business and your eating and health habits at the same time?
I reconstructed my entire life. Yeah. I left my business.
Because that really was like, when was the official time? When did you close the doors of the music industry?
October 4th, 2017.
Dude, that's barely a year ago.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And October 4th, 2017, what did you weigh then?
I'd already lost a little bit of weight.
Mm-hmm.
During the transition period because, man, I was called to go on a journey. I was sick with my brain tumor.
Mm-hmm.
And I asked my business partners, I said, man, like, I tried to leave the business in April.
Okay.
They wouldn't let me. They said, we can't let you leave because
Yeah.
you're sick. And I told them, I said, I need to leave.
Because that's what I'm curious about, right? Like, I imagine that you recognize the health aspect of like, all right, I'm going to improve this, but let me try to rock with the business for a little bit more.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. So it was about 6 months of a transition period. And then I just told them, I said, I got to go. And they knew it.
Yeah.
They knew it was time because they knew my heart wasn't in it. They knew I wanted to do something else. I wanted to do an Ironman. I wanted to be an athlete. They knew that's all I cared about. And they know when my heart's out of something, it's no secret. If Charlie says he wants to be an athlete, he's going to find some way of making it work.
You rocked that you rocked that industry for 10 years, and a year ago this shift occurs, and like what I want to understand is what's it like when you first start? We're talking about such a monumental shift, a whole completely rebranding of your life, your name, your habits.
Mm-hmm.
What was like that first 90 days like in the new you?
Vision of the finish line. I'm never in the present, ever. I'm always in the future. I created everything that happened last year in my head. Even though I wasn't on social media, I didn't have any resources in this industry, this health industry. I didn't have any relationships with Nike. I didn't have any relationships with CNNs or Runner's World magazines. But I created this in my head. And I would write it all down in my notebook. And I was just in a powerful place of creation. And this year, it's on the cover of Runner's World magazine, the biggest running publication. Did the Ironman, biked across America, been on CNN 3-4 times, been on ABC, Fox, every media outlet, podcast, everything. But I just literally created it. I knew what my finish line looked like. And I believed in it. And that's why it came to me, because what I did is it's not work that I did. Yes, I put in work, but work is 1 + 1 = 2.
Yeah.
But when you believe bigger, it becomes 1 + 1 = 1,000. It was bigger than me. You know, yes, I made a fan-made Nike commercial, but that doesn't mean you're supposed to get a Nike deal. There was something bigger going on.
Yeah.
And that's why I prescribe to everybody 2 things. Dream crazy and believe bigger. When you put those things together, something magical happens. Because it's easy to have big dreams. But I told myself, if I want those dreams to come true, there's only one thing I need. I need to believe bigger. I need to believe in this magic more. I need to believe in God more. I need to believe in this quantum more. And the more I believe, the more it happens. I wrote down in my notebook this morning, I said, number 15 in my quantum possibilities notebook. A huge brand is going to call me today and present a deal. And I've only had one brand deal in my life, so it's not like this happens all the time. But today I wrote it down, and it's not something I write down every day. But today I had a feeling, and then I got a phone call. A brand deal, a big brand.
Sick.
Presented a deal to me today, and I immediately got on Instagram and was like, hey guys, this quantum thing is real. This pen is really a magic wand. I promise you. And it's just crazy, but it happens all the time, from my cameraman walking in my front door, or me saying I'm gonna be in a commercial with LeBron and Serena and it coming true, or me saying a brand is gonna give me a deal today. It just comes because I tune my heart. I understand with quantum physics that we're all connected. We're all entangled if we're waves. So you're over there. I'm not connected to you, right? You're over there. I'm over here. But if you're a wave and I'm a wave, then that means somewhere we're entangled. Imagine rocks in a pond. So we're entangled somewhere in between, so we're not actually separate. So when I learned that with quantum physics, then, oh wow, I'm actually connected to what I want. Because quantum physics states that an atomic particle is not a piece of matter alone. It is a form of energy. It's a wave. It's a frequency. All these things that people say. So imagine all of us as waves, and what we want is waves. So that means we're connected. Well, how do I strengthen the signal to say to that thing I'm connected to, come here? Imagine a cell phone. Weak signal, you can't really hear me. Like, well, what'd you say? What'd you say? But if it's a strong signal, you know exactly what I said.
Right.
So how do I strengthen my signal? First thing I did was I had to get rid of anything negative around me. Negative things around you is like being in an elevator trying to talk on the cell phone. It's just blocked.
It's not happening.
My frequency can't get out to the things I want. So when you get rid of the negative things, I left my business, I left my city, I left my certain friends behind that were negative.
Right.
And I said, I want positive signal. I want full bars on my service.
So that was step one.
Step one.
Yeah.
Step two, I had to change what I ate. High frequency foods. You are what you eat. You want your frequency to go far, you got to eat some high frequency foods straight up. Cliff Bar, healthy, but it's dead.
Right.
If I were to take like a radar detecting machine and look at the frequency coming off of something that can sit on a shelf for 4 years, will the frequency reach far or low? Low.
Yeah.
Dead meat, dead anything, packaged, like even like raisins. Like eat a grape, it's alive. You know, the raisin can sit there for, 4 years. But eat something that's alive. It has a high frequency. If you eat the high frequency, you'll be able to reach further. The third thing, that doggone magic wand and quantum possibilities
Writing
notebook.
it down.
There's something happens, and I don't know the science behind it, but I'm sure somebody can explain it. There's something that happens when you write something down. Every morning I spend 30 minutes to an hour in front of my fireplace, quantum possibilities time, and it works. And I got example after example after example of things that I didn't really do myself that I've attracted.
And did you start writing after you met the dude, after you did your Ironman, or did you start writing before? Have you been writing like that?
I have every notebook from when I was 11 years old in my house.
And how has your writing changed?
I write from my heart now.
Okay.
When I learned that our minds have a frequency field of about 3 feet.
Yeah.
And our hearts have a frequency field of about 8 feet. I started getting out of my mind. If I were to ask anybody in this room right now, repeat the word that sounds right after this. Follow your
heart.
Why not head?
Yeah.
Why not mind? Why not brain? That would sound weird. Follow your brain. Like they're both organs, but that sounds so weird.
Right.
Instinctively as humans, we weren't taught this. Instinctively as humans, we know to follow our heart. It's because it has intelligence and it guides us. But the thing with the brain is it can play tricks. The heart doesn't know how to play tricks. It just knows. And that's why its frequency reaches so much further. So when I write in my
Mind is 3, heart is?
At least 8.
Wow.
At least 8 feet. So when I write from my heart. And so usually things from the heart are purpose driven.
Yeah.
So it's like when I say I want to be a Nike athlete, it's for a purposeful reason, not for fame or for money. It says, because Nike is an inspiration company, and I want to be the one who is able to inspire the people that are 7 out of 10 Americans are overweight or obese. I want to be the athlete for them.
Yeah.
So I'm writing from a place of purpose, not just fame and fortune. So when I write, I try to tune my heart like a radio station. A song is flying through the air right now. It's called a frequency. But when you tune your radio station to a certain frequency, it can listen to the song. Radio waves. Oh, well, that's quantum physics. You're a wave, I'm a wave. Radio waves, television waves, cell phone waves. Everything's a wave. But this cell phone knows how to pick up on a wave.
Yeah.
And it can receive what it's saying. So my heart, if I tune it like a radio, say I want to listen to Nike station. Let me tune it real quick.
Right.
And then I can pull it in, just like a radio can pull a wave out of the air and we could hear a song. So your heart, treat it like a radio. So when you're writing and you're tuning that heart, and then all of a sudden it can receive it.
And you do this every morning with
Every
the
morning.
Quantum Possibilities book.
Every morning.
How common is it that you're writing the same thing?
I'll write it in different ways. I'll say, I want to be a Nike athlete. And I'll say, Nike wants me to be a Nike athlete. Then it says, I'm going to be in a Nike commercial with LeBron and Serena. Then I'll say, Nike loves all my ideas.
You're just putting it out there.
All the
There's
time.
no right way to do it.
Like today, I tried something new. Something told me to write. A big brand is going to call me and
That's
present
it.
a deal. And then, boom, phone
You don't have to
rings.
write I want or this. You just put it on the paper. You just put the energy on the paper.
There is one thing I'm right at the bottom of the page.
Okay.
It's already done. Time just hasn't caught up yet.
Mm.
I say it all the time. I'm already at my finish line. It's just this stupid time thing exists.
Yeah.
It's like I know where I'm supposed to be. I would always feel that way. When I was getting fired from Soulja Boy or when I was fired from my girl group, it was like, ugh, I know what my finish line looks like. It's just this time thing.
Yeah.
So I'd say it's already done. Time just hasn't caught up
It's
yet.
already done. Time just hasn't caught up yet.
And that's that believing bigger. Because I believe it's already done.
So let me play devil's advocate,
Please.
right? With number one. Let's say I'm a 22-year-old and my family's negative. My job sucks. Everybody at my job's negative. And Charlie said I got to get rid of all the negative people around me. How do I do that, Charlie?
Man, I mean, I'm extreme. So maybe I'm the wrong person to answer the question. I can't tell you. I'm not the type to tell anybody what they should do.
Right.
You'll never hear me tell the words you should. I'm not a you should motivator.
Yeah.
I tell my stories and hopefully they resonate with somebody.
Right.
But I never tell somebody what they should do.
Yeah.
I want them to learn from me and they got to make their own decision.
Well, I'll tell them what they should do. They need to be fearless, right? Because I think what you've done, what you've achieved, requires a mass amount of fear. A mass amount of belief. And if they are going to let their surroundings affect their energy and they know it, they know there's negative people around them, they know there's a negative job, but they keep going back to their job. I'm going to say that what that person might be lacking is real belief. Because if you really believe that there's something bigger for you, better job, better relationship, better health, time is of the essence.
I have a hack for anybody who wants to believe bigger.
Oh, let's break it down.
I always say these words. It's easy.
Mm.
And that's what that quantum physicist, when he came to me, he said, you're very quantum, because he heard me saying it was going to be easy. Because when I walked away from music and I said I'm going to be an athlete, it makes no sense. But I said, oh, it's going to be easy.
Yeah.
Like I believe we're going to get what we asked for. And a lot of times when we're going into something, we say, all right, it's going to be hard, so I got to grind and I got to stay focused. And that's true. But if you say it's going to be hard and you got to grind, I mean, you're asking for a lot of friction.
For sure.
Break down grind. Friction. I want to float. Like, I would much rather hop on the airplane.
Absolutely.
And float, to my goal, and if by choice I say airplane, I'm going to go buy an airplane ticket.
Yeah.
Because that's what I said.
Absolutely.
Want. So we can both get there. I definitely work hard, but I definitely want it to be easy. When I did my Ironman, I said, it's going to be easy. I'm going to train like an 8-year-old.
I love that.
I'm going to wake up and play a couple hours every day. Like, it's going to be easy. And it ended up, I look back at it, it's easy. Just like tying our shoes. At one point, it was hard. Now we say it's easy. So why not just say it was easy before? Or multiplication. At one time, it was hard. But now it's easy.
That's it.
So why don't we just say it's easy from the beginning? Because easy is once you understand something, not actually the work. It's like if you understand, like for example, my podcast just hit 1,000 reviews today.
Come on now.
And I did it in 2 weeks. Well, I did it because I messaged 500 people a day. and ask them to like listen, rate and review, but I would have real conversation with them. But that sounds easy. Like, oh, message 500 people a day. Like, okay, that takes me 4 or 5 hours. That's my job. If somebody works at a job, they're going to work 8 hours. So, oh, that's pretty easy. Sit down and like talk to people all day. That's not exactly complicated to understand. But a lot of people might say getting 1,000 ratings on a podcast is hard. It's only hard if you don't understand how to do it. But once you understand how to do it, it's easy. It's just showing up and doing it every day.
Come on now. I noticed that with your Ironman training. You know, you read the Ironman manual, and it said, you got to do this, you got to do this amount of sprints, you got to blah, 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 blah. And you looked at it and you're like, damn, this looks really hard. So then you ask somebody, how many hours does a typical Ironman train a week?
Exactly.
And they said 14.
Yes.
And you said, so I just got to do this 2 hours a day.
That's easy.
Yeah. And that's the same principle you applied with getting the 1,000 reviews.
500 messages a day.
500 messages a day, though?
Yeah.
That seems like a lot.
It's about 5 hours.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You spend 5 hours working every day on your job, too.
That's true. I do. So, man, I'm really inspired by what you have. I'm really inspired by just the way you go about believing in yourself and going for it. You know, like what I'm curious about is, you know, you have this ability to create CEO Charlie, Rocket Charlie, and then you come up with a plan and Charlie goes and he does the work. Tell me about when you're in the thick of it and you're going through the motions of something. Like, if we were to look at the hardest part of your Ironman training, what was it and how did you work through it?
Okay, so
Because Ironman is no joke, dude. It's how much of a swim, how much of a bike.
It took me 16 hours and 41 minutes to complete the Ironman. It actually took longer than the flight to New Zealand, which was 14-hour flight. So I was
as it should though. It's a you start with the swim,
2.4
mile swim,
112-mile bike ride,
120-mile bike, and a full marathon,
and a full marathon,
26.2.
Yes. So honestly, man, bro, I believe in this universal law in my life. Whether it's a universal law in anybody else's life, I have no idea. But I mean, my name is Charlie Rocket, so I'm very fascinated with how rockets work.
Yeah.
And 62 miles to outer space. When Travis Porter, my very first successful group that didn't fire me, took off, I went back and counted how many songs before our first hit record.
Okay.
64.
Damn. 64 songs before your first hit? There's a lot of work.
Well, guess what? 2 Chainz. How many songs before his first hit?
How many?
60. Damn. Okay. And then 2 Chainz had a resurrection about a year ago where he had kind of gotten cold for a while, and then we brought him back and we released 5 projects. We released Trapavelli Trey, Felt Like Cappin', Danielson Necklace Don, Collard Grove, Hibachi for Lunch, and then Pretty Girls Like Trap Music. And Pretty Girls Like Trap Music was, you know,
game over.
A huge album. So I went back and counted how many songs to get back super relevant with Pretty Girls Like Trap Music. 60.
Damn.
So this 62, and then with my Ironman, I went back in my Strava, which is an app that tracks bike rides and runs, and I went back and counted how many runs and bike rides I did as training for my Ironman. Bike rides, 64.
Wow.
Runs, like 59.
Okay.
So always around this 62 number in my life, and with my podcast, I'm like, oh, I know when my podcast is going to pop. When I get to about my 62nd episode. And a rocket, when it takes off, it starts off slow. And that's why I call myself a rocket. It's not because I'm fast. I'm slow.
Yeah.
But that's okay because all rockets start off slow. So it's like everybody listening when they're starting their business, it's okay to start off slow because that's how rockets start off.
62 times. To have that. So you got the mindset that I'm going to need to do this 62 times before it cracks off.
100%.
Come on now. I love that so much.
Because when you get to that atmosphere, There's no more gravity.
Yeah.
There's no more grind. Everything you've been working for is now effortless and faster than ever. That's that tipping point we all wait for. So if you're a YouTube creator, if you're a videographer making tutorials, if you're an Instagram star, 62 pieces of original content without stopping.
Right.
A rocket can't stop and come back down. It's got to keep
going,
keep pushing and pushing. So when I'm at mile 42, I don't care that it's hard. I know I got to get to 62. When I'm at 54, I'm not worried. I just got to get to 62. That's it. That's my target. That's my finish line. Like a rocket is not worried about when it's halfway to the atmosphere. Right. It's only got one goal. Let's get to that 60-second mile and we'll be good.
That's what I'm talking about. I love that so much because I think that we're in a environment, a culture where it's just about the finish line. It's just about the deal. It's just about the chain. It's just about the car, right? Where, no, man, it's about the process. It's about the experience and the work. You know, like I ran my first marathon. I don't remember it. I don't remember crossing the finish line at all. I think actually the marathon itself was very painful because it was pouring rain and I trained in the sun and it was in Seattle. And I trained here in Orange County. Sun was shining, all flat. That's what I remember was the training, getting up to mile 22 with my mom. Yeah. We ran together. That was one of our highest peaks of our whole relationship. You know, the marathon was the marathon.
Yeah, the cool. Training is the memories, man.
That's cool, man.
I feel the same way about my Ironman training.
That's awesome, bro. So you did the Ironman, but in that also you did 5 regular 26.2s and the Boston.
I haven't done the Boston.
Okay.
I was training for the Boston, got injured. I was going to do that.
You gotta be fast for that. Isn't it what, 3:0?
I haven't lost the weight, man. I can't. I'm not fast yet. Yeah. I'm still working at it. I think I'm going to run the LA.
Okay.
But I got to get the last 30 pounds off, man. I got to get to your weight. How much do you weigh?
Right now I'm about $160.
That's my goal. I need to be $160. So I've been stuck, man, all year. I biked across America, did an Ironman, ran a marathon, and I haven't lost a pound. So I'm working on that last 30, and I know God has a plan for it. There's got to be a reason why he hasn't had me lose the weight through everything. I think he wants me to take people on that journey of the last 30. So he's just been holding it off until I actually like truly document day by day and kind of create the 30-pound Bible for the people. Yeah. Something that's never been created before.
Well, I think it's exactly what you intended, right? You said, I'm going to be the athlete for that guy, right? For me, I've always been, you know, for me to let's say, improve my health and get to the way, like, I want to be like my assistant, Malik. Malik's like, he's like a Ken doll. You know, I wouldn't have to do that much, but you've had a challenge your whole life, right? And this is what you're getting exactly what you asked
it's
for.
True.
And
true,
there's so many people who I think are ready to run with you. Yeah. You know, and who are gonna have that same challenge.
Yeah, man.
And it's your story.
That's right.
That's awesome, man. Well, I think we did it, dude. I think we shared some powerful wins, some insights. Any other just messages you want to leave people? Anything else that we need to what else could we do to support you? You know, like you've given all the world has to do is tune into a little bit of your story, right? Listen to this pod, watch the commercial, and you will be inspired. So how can the listeners support you?
Man, I think I was put on this earth to share my energy with people and teach people a way of life. When people ask me, like, Charlie, man, what do you want to do with next? What do you want to do in your life? And there's one thing that really, really fascinates me. And it's an ism. Like, somebody a long time ago came up with this thing called Stoicism. And it's this thing that teaches you how to just essentially be a better person. Right. And we're still studying it thousands of years later. And then there was a person, I don't know who it was, but somebody came up with like veganism. And these are just ways of life. Or Christianity, isms. You know, like I would love to be able to teach people what I've learned. And it carry on thousands of years later. That's what I'm fascinated by. I don't want to die when I die. Like Martin Luther King had a vision for a way of life.
Right.
When he said, I have a dream. It's like he's still here today.
Absolutely.
Like it's an ism. It's a way of life.
Right.
And that's what really, really fascinates me. And that's why I'm here. And I'm on a journey. And I just want to teach people what I experience and how I become a better person every day, how I attract, how I manifest, how I eat, how I live, how I have accomplished or overcome my trials and tribulations. That's why I'm here. And it's going to be a lifelong journey for me to figure it all out and to teach everybody. But this year coming up, I plan on starting that journey of sharing my energy with as many people as possible. And it's not going to stop. This is why I'm here.
That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. So, last question. Nike hits you up. They're like, Charlie, man, you should just change the game up here. You got everybody hyped up. We got to have you make a shirt. You know, you could come up with the paragraph.
Mm-hmm.
You could come up with one word.
Mm-hmm.
You could come up with 5 words.
Mm-hmm.
But we want your message on that shirt. And we're going to blast it out throughout the whole world. What's the shirt say?
I'll do 2 shirts. One, I believe, is going to come to fruition. Dream crazy. That's my live strong.
Love that.
Lance Armstrong had live strong. Mine's dream crazy.
Dream crazy.
And the second one is believe bigger. I don't care if it's business, sports, whatever.
Yeah.
Nobody's ever prescribed somebody to believe bigger. They tell them to dream bigger.
Right.
But I want you to believe bigger. Yeah. Because that belief is what actually gets the results in your life. Believe bigger. That's
a wrap. That's it, man. Guys, make some noise for Charlie bringing the fire. Let's go. Charlie, we appreciate you, dude.
Thank you, man.
Project Mindset.
Y'all hit me up. Y'all hit me up on Instagram and at Charlie on Instagram.
At Charlie. Tune into the pod. Share this message. You know, it's an extraordinary message to dream crazy.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like it's possible. But I love the second shirt because you could dream all day long.
Exactly.
But if you don't really believe that you can be a policeman in space,
yeah, man,
it's not happening.
That's right.
But when you do, you'll get that call.
That's right.
Yeah, I love that. Dream crazy, believe bigger. My dude, Charlie Rocket, Charlie Dream Bigger. Thank you, brother.
Thank you, man.
We out.
Woo!
Sweet. Thank you, man.